Dirty NBA players are a diverse bunch. Dirty play takes many kinds. It's dirty, dirty, and dirtier. Dirty can be rough or mouthy, dirty hard, and dirty dirty. There's physical and verbal filth. Some players dislike being labeled as dirty, while some would gladly wear it. A nasty person would be offended. Dirt has no value here. Called it basketball before then. So without further ado, let's look at the dirtiest players in NBA history. First up, Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant has aged well, but that doesn't mean that he ever did things in his childhood that didn't happen, or he's still a bit nasty. Mr. Sneaky Dirty, Bryant, his foul percentage doesn't reflect his filthy nature because he gets away with much of it. Bryant is the maestro of the follow-through on his jump shot or elbowing somebody in the throat to make room for a shot. When he commits a foul, he'll likely be rewarded with a whistle. Kobe aficionados will argue it's only accidental contact, but his greatness works against that. Bryant's legacy is one of a body-conscious athlete. He's polished every muscle action and perfected every part of his game. You think he had no idea what he was doing with his elbow, or biceps, or his paws? No. This offends me greatly. I respect him enough to admit his filth. Next up, Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman is in the Hall of Fame almost purely for two reasons: defense and rebounding. You can't do those things as well as he did without becoming somewhat dirty. Rodman was a master thug. He mastered every technique and tool to get the rebound. He outfought several men 3 times his size, strength, and weight. He accomplished so much by utilizing elbows, nails, teeth, hair, flatulence, and other means. Rodman didn't have a dirty secret. Now for this one, we have a combo of dirty players: John Stockton and Karl Malone. The overlap between the two of the greatest and dirtiest teammates in NBA history inspired me to combine them into 2 slides into one. He would have made more than his NBA contract as the famed elbow thrower in NBA history. John Stockton was the king of the dirty, crafty point guards. Everyone else has been a ripoff. NBA teams hated playing in Utah. If every Jazz foul was called, they'd be out of players before the half. They were mostly overlooked. Playing in Salt Lake City was like seeing Hickory High play Terhune in Hoosiers. If you went to Utah, you'd expect some wounds and bruises the next day, but not many trips to the charity stripe. Next up, Charles Oakley. I'm worried about not including Charles Oakley on this list because he might be offended and come over to my house and personally teach me on how much misery he inflicted in a game. Oakley was a player not to be trifled with. No foul was too difficult for him. Jalen Rose once labeled him as a dark alley guy. That's a great description. Charles Oakley was a scumbag. Even Charles Barkley couldn't fool Oakley and get away with it. Oakley sneers at today's players, and he'd be the last man standing in an NBA octagon. Next up, Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett is dirty. As he ages, he adds to his nasty repertory. Only 2 players in history have surpassed his filth. No one, I repeat no one, has trashed like Garnett. So you're tough? You think you're tough? In 5 minutes with Garnett, you'll be bawling like a schoolgirl. He's the NBA's Hannibal Lecter when it comes to mind games. It would be one thing if it stopped here. He has a lot of tricks. Slapping guys in the man parts as they go up for jump shots is just one of Garnett's filthy tricks. No need to defend him. Garnett would be happy, if not outraged, to be ranked 3rd. His contract allows him to advance. Next up, Bill Laimbeer. So how dirty of a player was this man? Well, to put it this way, Bill Laimbeer's Combat Basketball was a Super Nintendo game. It was a mix of Death Race 2000 and basketball. No, it encourages violence. Laimbeer was the baddest of the Motor City Bad Boys. He did what he had to do to win. The results are irrefutable. He has 2. Laimbeer would gladly throw an elbow if one was available. He didn't just play dirty, he wore it proudly. Next up, Bruce Bowen. Bruce Bowen was known for putting his foot underneath a player's jump shot. That's the absolute worst that a player can do. Landing on top of feet has ruined seasons and careers. After a few times, opposing players memorize it. The fear of landing on someone's foot is the fear of landing incorrectly. Fear of a bad landing influences your shot. But there's also a considerable difference between tough and malicious filthy, and the San Antonio Spurs defender was the latter. Career-threatening behavior is unethical and unjustified. Next up, Reggie Evans. Reggie Evans' favorite ballet? Nutcracker. Some things are just plain filthy. A man who turns around and fractures your jaw shouldn't even be called for a foul. Evans gripping Chris Kamen's genitals surely qualifies. Now we must ask ourselves, do you believe this is the first time this has happened? Was Evans impulsive, or had he done this before? I'm inclined to believe the latter. What is it about another man's pearls? Next up, Rasheed Wallace. Most gamers think of X's and O's when you say the game is technical. You think of Rasheed Wallace's career-high amount of technical fouls. He was teed 317 times, an NBA record. In 2001, he was called for 41, also an NBA record. He was called for 106 in 3 years. Over 12 Bulls Heat games. He raised the bar on his trash talking. When he was lambasted for it, he whined like a 5-year-old. Throughout, he was throwing out cheap shots, which explains a lot of the technicals. Ask Wallace, he'll likely say he never committed a foul. Apologies are ball lying. Well guys, thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. Be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so that you never miss a video. We'll see you guys next time.